In the previous century, the purchasing power of a US dollar has decreased by 95%. You may begin to question whether a digital asset will replace fiat currency as the world's reserve currency as blockchain and other digital technologies gain traction. Can we expect XRP? Here is some evidence that supports my position that XRP should be the world's reserve cryptocurrency if we had to choose one right this second. I'll just tell you a few things right now. I am here today to speak about the past. You guys are in for a treat with this video. All right, let's begin. The Kobayashi letter discusses the longest naked market and the worth of the US dollar as follows. In the previous century, the purchasing power of a US dollar has decreased by 95%. Since the year 2000, the value of the US dollar has declined by about 40%. A lot of people believe that having digital assets like Bitcoin will help them own stuff or else they will fall behind. To elaborate a little, I just wanted to tell you more. It is well known that the dollar's value and purchasing power will decline over time. The B are ICS nations. South Africa, Brazil, Russia, India, and China are accelerating their efforts to diversify their commerce away from the US dollar. In order to protect themselves from economic shocks and sanctions imposed by the US, they aim to increase their financial independence. Among their many endeavors, the B, or ICS nations are creating a cross-border payment system and a system based on local currencies. Both of these initiatives seek to demonetize the dollar or find an alternative reserve currency to the US dollar. Many speculate that the next BRICS currency will use crypto assets or be modeled on the XRP system. Brazil is indeed included in this list. Ripple and the Brazilian government have a long history of collaboration. Brazil, Africa, China, and India are all parts of their corporate empire. The XRP ledger has even been tested by Russia. Your faith in their ability to resolve this issue wanes. There has been discussion of introducing new reserve currency, the unit, inside the BRIC industry. This money might have the support of other currencies, or even gold. That is to say, they might pool resources like the South African rand and the United Nations dollar and then support it, adorned with precious metals. Which is better, oil or gold? Is it possible that oil or gold might support this new currency? Might XRP soon overtake all other currencies? That XRP was established by Ripple Labs is hardly surprising. It is designed for cross-border payments that are quick, affordable, and scalable. Banks and money transfers are much improved by these characteristics. At this point, financial markets, some industry professionals, like Ripple CTO David Schwartz and Linda P. Jones, have speculated that XRP's neutrality might make it a world reserve currency. Effectiveness, long-term viability, and settlement between international banks are all matters that no one nation has any say on. You wouldn't want to utilize or surrender your power, strength, or superpower if you were fighting another superpower, would you? Although you may be amicable and trade with each other on paper, your military are likely plotting the consequences of a conflict between the two of you. This planning and discussion happens every time. Suppose the US dollar suddenly collapsed tomorrow and everyone had to start using a different currency. Wouldn't Russia want theirs? Money is what China would like. India would want to have its own currency, and since it serves as a neutral intermediary, everyone can agree on its value. Something similar to XRP might be it. Already, XRP's distributed ledger has the attention of institutional investors. Financial institutions and payment processors are exploring or committing to using Ripple's technology to settle liquidity bridges. Explores the potential impact of XRP on the economy in the real world. A large portion of the $1.5 trillion in bank funds might be made available by XRP, according to proposals sent to U.S. officials. Access to funds, primarily through the unfreezing of funds held in Nostrovostro. Some estimates put the figure around $25 trillion. There may be some U.S. banks that are causing the $1.5 trillion figure to be inaccurate. It does mention cutting transpose action expenses by almost $7.5 billion annually. That isn't what it is, in my opinion. Also, I'd like to discuss other topics here, so that's all right. I thought this could be interesting for some viewers, so I looked it up and decided to include it in the movie. From the 15th through the 17th centuries, the Portuguese real and the Spanish real dio served as the world's reserve currency. The Dutch gold deer served as the global reserve currency for nearly 2 centuries, from the 17th until the 18th century. Greet those of you who are viewing from the Netherlands. I'm sorry. I ought to have known. Is Amsterdam happening there? Give it a moment. Words are escaping me. I fear for my life because of that Dutchman Cass. I apologize for that embarrassing incident. In the early 1800s, there was the British pound sterling. In the mid-1900s, there was the US dollar. And now, from 1944 to the present day, there is the US dollar. Shorter periods of time are being maintained by individuals holding these funds. 80 to 100 years is the average lifespan of a human being. Here in the US, we are rapidly approaching that figure. What follows next starts to cross your mind. It has now been completed by the IMF. A new global reserve currency is on the horizon, according to the International Monetary Fund. This is stated in numerous academic articles and other sources. There has been some discussion regarding the concept of a newly established global reserve currency, likely derived from the SDRs. And the most crucial question is, who oversaw it? At the helm, who are you? The SDR or any other kind of world reserve currency would struggle to gain traction in the absence of a robust government to support it, earning even the most fundamental respect. You begin to wonder, could that SDR ripple because of this? Excuse me while I show you this. Alternatively, that a number of nations reached a consensus on. I would adhere to certain regulations. Every global order is stabilized by the banking system. Right now, I think a major shift is going to happen in the world. Let me say it out loud. We are about to switch to a new method of budgeting and financial tracking. The dollar will eventually collapse, according to everyone. New methods of recording financial transactions are known as blockchain. It alludes to the digital process of keeping meticulous records of all financial dealings in the retail sector. This will greatly enhance our comprehension of the situation. There are also significant threats to the equilibrium of power between nations and their citizens. In my opinion, a digital legislation protecting human rights is necessary before we can have digital currency. This new money, though, will be used nationwide. A common misconception is that digital money is inherently secure because of encryption. Given the current state of affairs, I am hesitant to bring up the topic of the New World Order. For the second time in my whole life, from what I've observed, the leaders have openly discussed the possibility of launching a nuclear war. Everybody wants power, you know? That style is in high demand. The International Monetary Fund has brought up the topic of a potential global reserve currency. Digital assets and the technologies associated with them are the main topics of discussion. The topic has shifted to digital money, tokenized assets, stablecoins, digital forms of special drawing, digital currencies issued by central banks, and so on as a result of their research and the opinions of experts. What computer programs enjoy writing the most? I completely neglected to include XRP, didn't I? I did inquire as to the technology that individual believes would assist the IMF in selecting BL from the options of an ESDR and a new global reserve currency in the present day. Exactly what is that? No problem. Let me demonstrate. It does mention that CBDCs, IMFCs, and central bank digital currencies will play a significant role in the future global system, particularly in cross-border payments, expanding access to financial services, and policy dissemination. The claim is made that the majority of major central banks across the globe are considering or have already begun developing their own CBDCs, and that our primary goal is to facilitate the growth and interoperability of digital currencies. What is the overall connection here? It would be necessary to recreate the current system from the ground up if each central bank produced antiquated technology that is incompatible with the new lines. Because of that, the system is ineffective. Am I correct? I thought everything was kept separate with SWIFT, wasn't it? Things can't come together. It's due to the fact that various individuals are conveying distinct messages that change to the 20